I am going to get started. My name is Nikki Marit. I will be your host tonight. I am the CEO of IBTC, and we proudly bring you the CIMA 2021 Get Connected conference. So welcome to day 2. This conference we call it the Get Connected conference because I always feel that students and members from South Africa and Southern Africa are often so far removed from the professional bodies and the providers in the UK. And this is an ideal platform for us to remind us that we are studying a global qualification that gives us global opportunities. Today is day 2. We have a session at 5 and we have a session at 6 o'clock. Sorry, Clancy, there, I accidentally muted you instead of somebody else. Okay, so yesterday's session, just a quick debrief, was our opening session was by Sarah Bucks from CIMA Southern Africa and Sue Jabbert, a practicing CGMA who studied and worked in the UK for 8 years and now works in South Africa. Sarah painted for us the picture of CIMA in a South African context. And a couple of things that stood out for me was the concept of open access, which CIMA follows, where often with our qualifications or higher qualifications in South Africa doesn't always have such open access. It often requires you to first have a degree. Also, we had a very interesting discussion about the benefit of the workplace experience over something like articles, where also the focus of articles is really auditing, apart from the fact that you get poorly paid, whereas CIMA's workplace experience is really workplace experience that focuses on diverse skills and really prepares you for business and not just for auditing. So I found that was a very interesting discussion. Sarah also pointed out that the CIMA qualifications have been evaluated by SAQA and found to be on par with CASA, which is the SAICA qualification, and they are both at NCF level 8. So that's great news, and we had a round of applause for that because it was a long journey to get to that place. And I do believe that should put to bed any discussions about one qualification outranking the other. So that was session number 1 yesterday, the 5 o'clock session. And then in our second session, we had Trevor Robertshaw, who discussed, he's from CIMA in the UK, and he discussed the value of CIMA qualification globally. And he mentioned a lot of employers who prefer to employ CGMAs or CIMA qualifieds, like Unilever, Toyota, Mass Stores, PwC, KPMG, ABSA, SARS, Transnet, Randwater. He also mentioned the local universities who are increasingly aligning their own qualification to the CIMA syllabus. So all of that bodes well for us who are studying CIMA and who are CIMA members at the moment. If you have missed last night's sessions, you can send us your email address in this chat. I did say earlier, please don't send private messages because then we can't download it in the chat or we can't answer it. But if you wanted to send your email to Pam directly, Pam IBTC, then Pam can make sure that you get the link to our conference experience page, which is the page where we continue the conference by posting all the recordings there. We'll host all the recordings of the 3 days in case you've missed anything. Okay, so we can get started. We are still admitting, but I can get started. With me today, this is now our 5 o'clock session, and with me today I have Clancy Peiris. Clancy wears 2 hats at CIMA. He's the Senior Manager Relationship Programs, and in his role, he looks after IBTC, and we work closely together and have a great relationship. And he's also the Senior Learning Development Manager, and in his capacity, he often produces articles and pieces of work aimed at helping students to pass. He's extremely knowledgeable on exams and what examiners want. I don't know if you guys get the PQ magazine. I had a look at it last night, and there's an article by Clancy on answer planning in case study exams. I don't know if you read the article. You might recall the Sherlock Holmes imagery that was used in the article. If you've missed it, I strongly recommend that you go back and look it up. I can send you a link to the Sherlock Holmes article if you like, to the answer planning article. And the other one that Clancy did, I want to say recently, I don't know if it's recently, Clancy, but I read it recently, is the operations case study exam walkthrough, which displays a real exam answer that did really well compared to one that didn't score really well. And I think it's part of your presentation today. And I love the way you do that with the Clancy commentary in the middle, where you display them side by side. Again, I also have the link to that article, and I can also send you that. But enough from me. I am at this point going to, I hope I've warmed them up enough for you, Clancy, and I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Nikki and the team. Hello, everyone. Good evening and very warm welcome to this presentation. And once again, thank you very much, Nikki and the team, for this opportunity for me to present today in CIMA 21 Get Connected conference. This presentation will last approximately 40 minutes, and thereafter you can ask any questions you may have in the chat panel or directly, and I'm more than happy to answer. And I believe this presentation will be recorded, and the recording and the slides will be sent to you by IPTC. And I have hyperlinked a couple of learning resources in the presentation so that it will make your life easier. Right. So today's presentation's title is I failed the exam, what's next? Failure is part and parcel of our life. We all want to win. We all want to be successful in life, including exams we take. Failure is painful. Failure is frustrating. Failure is disappointing. However, failure is providing feedback. It all depends on how we look at the failure and what actions we take to convert the failure into a bouncing board to make it a great success. And we can have a long list of people who had greatest failures in life, but they have made history. Because of their failure, they became a great success. It can be Edison, it can be J.K. Rowling, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Abraham Lincoln, Albert Einstein, Walt Disney, Steve Spielberg, Abraham Lincoln. I can go on and on. Therefore, exam failure is also can be a springboard for us to turn and make it a great success. So in this session, what I would like to focus is, firstly, CIMA objective test exams and what could go wrong. And secondly, my few hints and tips for you to consider and get ready for the recit objective test exam. Thirdly, CIMA case study exams examine expectations. When it comes to the case study exam, we know that examiner expectations and the examiner experience through the student answers, there may be a gap. So fourthly, I would like to share some hints and tips for your case study recit exam in case if you are taking the recit exam or if you are taking the case study exam for the first time, how to narrow this gap between examiner expectations and examiner experience through your answer script. And also, finally, I would like to share some comments, some insights from CIMA prize winners as to how they prepared for the exam and what was more important in their exam preparation. one thing I miss in my life is teaching CIMA. Probably in the introduction, Nikki did not mention, before I joined CIMA, gosh, how many years ago? 12 years ago, I myself was a lecturer, tutor, and basically I was a teacher. So what I am sharing today is not just information about CIMA exams. It's not just information about hints and tips, because we associate with subject matter experts, examiners, but also partly my experience as a former CIMA tutor. All right. Firstly, we will look at CIMA objective test exams. When we fail a CIMA objective test exam, we naturally ask, not only CIMA objective test exam, any exam, when we fail, if we fail, naturally we ask a question, why did I fail? The moment we ask the question, why did I fail, we get a lot of answers into our head, but almost all these answers are emotional answers. To me, the intelligent question is instead why, what did make me fail the exam? So when we ask that question, I think the first starting point is an open and honest reflection as to what made me fail my CIMA OT exam. In the background of the reflection, all what you have is the CIMA results. In the CIMA results, obviously, there are three things: pass, fail. So obviously, if you have failed the exam, unfortunately, it says fail. Secondly, you have the score. You know the passing score is 100 on a scale between 0 and 150. So your score, you can compare with the passing score. If it is very closer, for example, 95, 96, then you think, oh, I failed just by very few marks. It's a marginal failure. Or if the score is 65, 70, okay, then the score is somewhat far away from the passing score. Thirdly, in the results, you will find the syllabus topics proficiency. In every syllabus, there are syllabus topics with weighting, and in the exam results, you can find certain syllabus topics you are proficient, certain syllabus topics you are not proficient. Right, so we'll keep that in the background. And going back to the question, what did make me fail my CIMA OT exam? There are a couple of questions that can be used for self-evaluation. Firstly, did I answer all the 60 questions in my exam? Most likely, answer is yes. Fine, we leave it at that. But in case, if the answer is no, I could not answer all the 60 questions, I could have answered another 5, 6, 7 questions. If that's the case, then we do a little deep dive to ask, okay, I did not answer all the questions. Why? Is it because I did not have enough time? Is it because I could not recall the theory that is really essential for me to answer the question? Or is it because I was not too sure what was asked for? I could not understand the question. Or sometimes, if it is a single choice or multiple choice question, I could not find the correct option between other distractors. I did not answer all the questions. Is it because of the syllabus coverage? I could not study the entire 100% of the syllabus, or even though I studied 100% of the syllabus, unfortunately, I could not study deep enough syllabus topics. I just read through the study texts or whatever. In addition to that, I have met a reasonable number of students who fail the exam. They say, I made some silly mistakes. My ignorance and carelessness, I could have done these questions right. I made these calculations wrong. I should have got it right. Okay, so these are common reasons. Either all of them or any one of them may be applicable in your situation. If any of these factors are applicable, what's next? What corrective actions we can take in our resit exam? All right. Obviously, we know in CIMA objective test exams, time is not on our side. It is a time-pressured exam. To that matter, any exam is a time-pressured exam. From CIMA's point of view, the background is there are 60 questions, 60 objective test questions. And these 60 questions, some are difficult questions, some are relatively easy questions. The level of difficulty of a question depends on so many factors. The syllabus area tested, the task, for example, if it is a calculation question, or the amount of information presented, therefore the amount of information you need to process, think to arrive at the correct answer, etc. Now, in the CIMA objective test exams, questions are not lined up in the order of difficulty. Some difficult questions can be found as question number 1, question number 2. But very easy questions can be found in between. Again, more difficult questions, again, easy questions. Obviously, you know that difficult questions require more time. Easy questions require less time. If it is a straightforward multiple choice question, for example, once you finish reading the question, you know the answer. So that question may take just 10 seconds. But there may be questions where you have to do calculation, you have to arrive at the correct answer. You may need sometimes 2 minutes or maybe 2.5 minutes. So obviously, some questions require more time than others, but questions are not lined up in the order of difficulty. So our objective has to be in the first 10 to 15 minutes to answer all the easy questions out of the 60 questions and get all the easy marks. How can we do that? Instead of explaining the tactic, here I have listed a video I have done how to get the best out of your CIMA objective test exams. Please watch that video. You will find the 4-step approach, that is answering all the 60 questions in 4 rounds. In the first round, for example, answer all the easy questions and get easy marks. And then second round, you answer slightly difficult questions. And then in the third round, you allocate more time to answer more difficult questions, so on and so forth. Question practice is the best exam preparation technique, best examination preparation tactic, as confirmed by students as well as CIMA tutors. So therefore, I invite you to practice as many questions as possible. However, at the end of the day, what matters is not how many questions you practice, how you practice questions, how you use question practice as a learning tool. Moving on to the next possible reason why I could not answer all the objective test questions in the exam. I could not recall the necessary theory I studied because the question was directly testing the memory recall, the theory, or that theory was necessary for me to apply and do the calculation and come out with the answer. We know that our brain is designed to remember pictures. Our brain is not designed to remember letters, numbers, or words. Therefore, There are various tools that you may use to support the way the brain is designed to remember things. Mind maps, spider diagrams, flashcards, short notes, whatever. Because anything that we want to remember, the best thing is to write it down. For you to find more information about memory techniques, there's a video that you can watch later, Total Recall, the top 5 proven memory techniques, for which I have provided the link in this presentation. The next couple of reasons, I was not too sure what was asked for syllabus coverage, either 100% or not deep enough. Now, you know, CIMA computer-based exams allow to test the entire syllabus. Answering is made easier, though the exam remains rigorous. Therefore, these 60 questions are designed to test the entire syllabus. So please make sure that you revise the entire syllabus. Now, you may be less proficient in certain syllabus topics and proficient in certain other syllabus topics in the exam you fail. When you prepare for the resit exam, please remember the resit exam is not a top-up exam. What I mean by top-up exam is that you are not taking the resit exam to get marks, to get questions only on the areas that you were not proficient in the exam you were unsuccessful in the past. In the resit exam, you will get fresh 60 questions again across the syllabus, and the questions you got under syllabus topics you were proficient earlier, you may get more tougher questions. Therefore, when you prepare for the resit exam, please ensure you focus more on syllabus topics that you were not proficient, but at the same time, make sure you allocate adequate time to revise syllabus topics that you were proficient as well. In order to understand, have you studied deep enough the syllabus topics? Or in other words, what is examinable? CIMA is the only professional accountancy body who tells effectively to students well in advance what your questions may look like. CIMA is the only professional accountancy body that tells in advance what is examinable. Where do you find this information? CIMA examination blueprints, which are designed to demystify examinations. When you go to CIMA blueprint, you can see on the extreme right-hand corner, there's a representative task statement. For example, in E2, syllabus topic C, project management, you will understand how the overall project objectives are measured by time, cost, and quality. So if you can tick this representative task statement with confidence that, yes, I can do this, that means the questions that you get in the exam under this representative task statement, you should be able to answer. In other words, the source document that is used by item writers and examiners in objective test exam is the CIMA examinations blueprint. Moving on, few more generic hints and tips from me for the CIMA objective test exams that might be useful when you prepare for your resit exam. Firstly, a reminder about a great offer that CIMA has put out, that is free exam resit. If you are unsuccessful, for you to be qualified for this offer, you must schedule your initial exam between 1st of February and 31st of July this year. Unfortunately, if you fail, your resit exam is 100% free of charge. You will find more information by clicking this link. Secondly, let me reveal an interesting fact. If you fail, unfortunately, in your first attempt, our data shows that your chance of passing your recit exam is enormously higher if you take your recit exam in the next 1 to 2 weeks from the exam you failed. We recommend that you should not book your recit exam soon after you fail your OT exam. There should be time for you to absorb that painful outcome. And then, as I explained earlier, stop, reflect, what went wrong, and depending on the answers you find, you have an action plan, and then you prepare for the recit exam. And make sure your recit exam is after 1 week of the exam you failed, but before 2 to 3 weeks, so that your chance of passing is higher. The pass rates of the second attempt is very high for the students who do the recit exam between 1 to 2 weeks from the exam they failed. Thirdly, you can find a 10-step checklist that can be used to check whether you are exam ready. Please incorporate these 10 checkpoints, checklist, into your revision timetable so that you would do all what you are supposed to do to prepare for your exam. We found that during this pandemic, most of the students really struggle to stay motivated, really struggle to manage time between family commitments, emotional stability, if you are working, the work commitments, and study. So if you want to find out about some techniques, how to stay motivated on track, and some insight into time management, practical tools, how to address procrastination, etc., there's a very useful video you can watch later. So these are the few hints and tips I thought I would share about CIMA objective test exams. I'm more than happy to stop here and check whether you have any questions so far on what I mentioned.
Yes, thank you, Clancy. I have one question from Cleopatra, who asked, do all 60 OT questions carry the same marks?
The straightforward answer is yes. As I mentioned, these 60 questions are varying in difficulty, varying in question style. For example, multiple choice question, single choice question, hotspot, drag and drop, etc. But for simplicity purposes, you may assume that each question get 1 mark. If the answer is complete, correct, you get 1 mark. If the answer is wrong, you get 0 marks. There's nothing in between. However, there are no partial marking and there are no negative marks. So when I say no partial marking, if the question says identify the 3, that is 3 correct answers, 3 correct statements that are applicable, if you identify only 2 correct answers, still you get 0 marks, unfortunately.
I always find those the trickiest questions, Clancy.
Can you repeat?
Think it comes? I always find the tick all that apply, the trickiest questions. Do you think those come down to content knowledge? If you know your content really well, you won't be tripped up by it. And if you do know it really well, then it should be fairly straightforward. Or why are those so hard?
Right, you're absolutely right, Nikki. These questions are not designed to trip students. And the whole idea of select all that apply questions is to test the knowledge. Obviously, it is objective test exam. So therefore, students who have thorough knowledge in terms of or in line with the CIMA blueprints, they should be able to answer those questions with relative ease. And my suggestion for select all that apply questions is while trying to identify the answers that are correct, try to identify answer options that are obviously incorrect.
Elimination.
Elimination, absolutely. But I completely understand that if it is single choice question or multiple choice question, where it is mentioned that select 2, select 3, select 4, whatever, if the number is mentioned, then it's much straightforward. You know, we have to select whatever the number. But if we say select all that applies, we don't know whether we have selected all the 3, all the 2, or all the 4, because we do not know. I completely agree with you. It's tricky.
Yes. Then Keshri Naidu wants to know, is the free OT to resit only for the ops level?
Yes, for now, it is only for the operational level, Nikki.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I can't see any other question. We had one, which let me just see. What is such as a good question? It's a very student question. How many questions? What's the minimum number of questions I must get right to guarantee a pass?
All right. That is a very good question, but unfortunately, I won't be able to answer with the same level of comfort you asked the question. Yes. As you know, there are 60 questions, and but the results are released using scale scoring. The reason is that we are using the equating method. Why we use the equating method is because all the candidates are not getting the same 60 questions. Some, if you take 60 questions in total, candidate A may get slightly difficult questions. Candidate B may get 60 questions. There are 1 or 2 questions slightly easier. So therefore, based on that, we are using internally something called ang-off method. That is, we evaluate each question in terms of difficulty, and then we decide the cutoff for each exam our candidates take. That does not mean one candidate passes getting 30 out of 60, whereas another candidate is passing when it is 58 out of 60. So I know it is not a very straightforward answer, but if you ask this question from me as a teacher, my answer would be, in your mock exams, try to get something like 52 questions correct, so that in the real exam, you will comfortably record a pass.
Excellent. Thank you for that. My last question is, I know you said, but just I still have the question. How long is the free sit still available for? Is it for anything booked before the first, or just refresh my memory?
Yes.
How long is the free resit still available?
The first exam has to be booked between 1st of February and 31st of July 2021. And then on top of my mind, I can't remember when the resit is applicable, but if you click this link, you will find all the information.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm happy to carry on with the case study section.
Thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you.
All right. So when it comes to the case study exam, I think the information I'm going to share here will be helpful for students both preparing for the case study exam first time, as well as ones who unfortunately failed the exam earlier. When it comes to the case study exam, we ask one simple question: why CIMA is using case study exams in addition to the objective test exams. Case study exams are used for various purposes. Firstly, case study exams test what we cannot test in objective test exams. So what do we can't test in CIMA objective test exams? Various things: communication skills, application skills to a great extent, judgment skills, problem solving skills. So basically the cognitive mental skills that are needed for a management accountant. That is why CIMA case study exam questions are in conversational language and it mimic the world of work. So when we ask from examiners, what are the common mistakes? Why students fail? What makes students fail case study exams? They identify 4 reasons. First reason is students fail to answer the question that I ask. In other words, students answer the question they set in their head, not exactly the question the examiner has set. Secondly, students demonstrate limited technical ability. In other words, there are gaps in knowledge. So this boils down to theory, understanding, and theory, memory and recall. Case study exams are not designed to test knowledge, but they are designed to test application of knowledge. Thirdly, candidates provide insufficient justification for arguments. If you mention that this is an advantage of using this project management tool, the examiner says, well and good, I can see that in a textbook, but tell me why you think it is an advantage in this context. Why do you think using Gantt charts is an advantage of, as a project management tool in this organization? So it's justification of the points. Fourthly, fail to reflect the scenario or specifics of the organization and its environment. In other words, failure to support the points using the evidence from the pre-seen material and unseen material. Therefore, when we summarize the 5 top expectations of examiners in CIMA case study exams, firstly, the examiner says, be relevant to the requirement. In other words, answer my question. Now, in case study exams, in my opinion, all the answers are correct. When I say all the answers are correct, if there's a question about decision trees, students write something about decision trees. They are not writing anything about organic chemistry. They are not writing anything about physics. So the answers are correct, but the problem is the answer is not relevant. In other words, the answer does not address the question requirement. Second expectation is demonstrate the knowledge of the syllabus in your answer. That means even without writing the theory, we can demonstrate our knowledge. For example, even without mentioning about Mendelow's matrix, we can demonstrate that we have the knowledge of stakeholder mapping. How? We can put 4 subheadings: high interest, high power, low interest, low power, high interest, low power, etc. So demonstrate you have the knowledge. Third expectation is demonstrate you can apply. We learn a theory, but this theory, the same theory, I can apply to different contexts. For example, activity-based costing. Yes, I know how to cost a product or a service using ABC in a hotel, in a hospital, in an airline, etc. The fourth expectation is write a well-structured answer. That means using paragraphs, short paragraphs, only 1 point in 1 paragraph, etc., etc. And the fifth expectation is justification of the arguments made in the answer. So as I mentioned earlier, whatever you write, try to justify. All right. So there's another article I have produced about these 4 key mistakes and the 5 expectations, and importantly, 10 recommendations by the examiners, or 10 actions examiners suggest. If you do these 10 things before the exam and during the exam, you are automatically addressing these 5 expectations of these examiners and avoid making those 4 key mistakes. The single best starting point in preparing for CIMA case study exam is examination blueprint, because we expect our candidates to simulate a role during the case study exam. Obviously, you know, CIMA operational level, we would like you to think, act, write as a finance officer. Management case study exam as a finance manager, and in the strategic level case study exam as a senior finance manager. So please spend little time to go to the examination blueprint and find that persona. It's kind of the mini job description. And if you consider the case study exam as a job interview, and this is how you prepare for the job interview, and this is the mini job description. And there you can find at the appropriate level, what are your key responsibilities? What is your role focus? What are the key tasks you need to perform? And who are the people, who are the colleagues, stakeholders you are expected to influence and with whom you interact? And you will find in the Prescene these different aspects. So I suggest that you have a very clear idea about the role that you are supposed to simulate in the case study exam. Secondly, for the case study exam, there is no syllabus, if you like. The 3 syllabi of the 3 objective test subjects is put together is the syllabus for the case study exam. So in the objective test exam, we learn various theories, topics, models, calculations, etc. So in the case study exam, you are supposed to perform some tasks. In other words, you find core activities and assessment outcomes, popularly known as I can statements. So if you are preparing for the management level case study exam, if I read the second assessment outcome under syllabus topic A or core activity A, I can identify and use relevant digital data sources to assist in capital investment decisions. So most likely in the exam, you will find the same sentence converted into conversational language and given as the question requirement. So before you go to the exam, you know how the question may look like. You are given the Prescene. All what you don't have is the unseen additional or scene setting material. So therefore, it's very helpful for you to spend a bit of time and understand exactly what is in the CIMA blueprint, which demystifies exams and tells you what are examinable. At the beginning, I mentioned that I would like to share some insights from prize winners. We contacted the prize winners of the last year exam, and both the students said the Prescene material is very important. So in addition to the blueprint, the second area that you can focus is Prescene. Rachel said she think that she actually work in that company. And Daniel said, pretend that you are part of that organization and know it well. So as I said earlier, you are preparing for a job interview in this particular organization. So therefore, Prescene, understanding of the Prescene is very important, because if you don't understand the Prescene material, you don't understand the unseen material, you don't understand the question requirement, and you won't be able to use evidence from the Prescene and show your application skills in the exam. In addition to the Prescene material, we suggest our students to spend little time to do industry analysis and understand the real industry that is more closer to the industry that is in the Prescene. It is important to understand the context by analyzing the industry. However, thorough understanding of the Prescene is more critical. And there's a lot of learning resources available in the CIMA planner, guiding students what to do, what not to do when you analyze the Prescene. And all what is required is not to remember word by word of the Prescene. You are expected to remember the key themes of the Prescene. So my suggestion is to do a SWOT analysis and understand strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In other words, internal environment and external environment, through which try to understand business issues. The business issues are more related to the E-pillar subject. Understand financial issues of the company. That's more related to the F-pillar subject. Try to understand performance issues and risks. That is more related to the P-pillar subject. So if you can remember performance issues, business issues, financial issues, and risks, that means you are remembering more or less the key themes, and that will help you in the real exam. So the blueprints are very important. Prescene is very important, right? I'm coming to the exam walkthrough that Nikki mentioned at the very outset. What I have done is I have taken failed answer and a passed answer from a real exam. And the failed answer has got about 60 score. The passed answer is not an answer from a prize winner. The passed answer score was about 120. So that means a reasonably good answer. And I have demonstrated the failed answer, what the candidate could have done, why the candidate failed that exam. In the past answer, I have given commentary about what this candidate has done to make this answer a good answer. I'm not going to go through all of them. I just want to use this walkthrough to show the importance of application. The importance of application. Application is key to passing CIMA case study exams. So what I've done is I have taken one paragraph, rather two paragraphs from the passing student, and I have enlarged. And what I've done is I have deleted certain parts, as you see on the right-hand side. And if you read without the parts that I have deleted, you can see it is just a theoretical answer. It is just demonstrating what can be found in a textbook. This question is all about KPIs. So if I just read, this KPI would show the proportion of potential customer area. This would be useful as it would indicate how successful the agent is in generating sales, not only in terms of sales volume, but in terms of actual customers. So basically, I have taken a passing answer and taken bits out and converted into a fail answer. If you look at what you find at the bottom with the red color phrases So those are the bits I removed. Now I have added back. And you can clearly see how you can demonstrate application. Maybe by adding just one or two words like for us. And if you take the last paragraph, you see, if you don't put what is in red color, there can be a very short sentence. So this is to illustrate that, you know, application is very important and how you can use information, evidence from the scenario and show your application skills. I would like to take another part of that answer, and this is about decision trees. And again, what I did was I took out 2 paragraphs from the passing answer, and as earlier, I took out certain parts and converted the passing answer into a fail answer. And if you read as it is on the right-hand side, it is just a textbook answer. But when you put things back, that is in red color that you see on the left-hand bottom corner, you find that the theory that is written is made very relevant, more relevant to or more specific to this particular organization, this particular scenario, or this particular context. So application is very important. What can we do to improve application? I'll come to that in a minute. To produce this type of a winning answer, this type of an answer with a passing score, we asked from the prize winners, and they said, answer planning is key. We read the question and we allocate reasonable amount of time at the beginning, sometimes about 10-15 minutes. Understand the question, understand the verbs if there are, allocate time according to the question weightings for the subtasks, and then do the structure planning, content planning, and thereafter we start producing the answer. So as Nikki mentioned earlier, again, I have created an article. In that article, I identify 5-step approach. It's kind of a structured formula. If you follow these 5 steps, one after the other, like following a roadmap, you will end up at the destination. You will end up producing a good answer. And by default, you manage the time as well. So I invite you to read that article as well. And finally, question practice is very important for case study exams as well. We have found many students who wait until the Prescene is released to analyze the Prescene and then do mock exams based on that Prescene. But fun fact is 80% of impact on case study exam success can generally be attributed to what students do by the time they get to the Prescene of the exam they have booked. So what they can do, they can identify, are there any knowledge gaps? Then I can refresh the knowledge gaps. Are there any examination skills I need to develop, including typing speed? Then the past exam material is the best source, because these are the very same examiners who write your exam as well. To understand examiner mentality, examiner approach, examiner marking, the best approach is using the past exam material. So please do not think it is a waste of time and effort and energy of analyzing past Prescenes. Analyze a past Prescene and use 1 or 2 or 3 variants, write answers to the time, and then if possible, get feedback for this answer. This is what prize winners do. And prize winners confirm that past exam material is very, very important. So these are the few hints and tips I thought I would share today for students especially preparing for your recit exam and for anyone who is